So we do have some time for questions or testimony if you've seen some wonderful things, and anything about the book or about the slides, or yeah.
What's the future of the availability of the light pollution maps? 'Cause I know I've seen some online, but they're not very precise. And I'd like to wonder if at some point we could like Google Earth, we could zoom into a quarter mile and see how different the next quarter mile.
Yeah, I don't think there's been anything using new data since the mid-1990s data, unfortunately. I know there's something, and maybe you know this, something if you Google Dark Sky Finder, this person has used the map of the US, and you can move around to your location and see where you live. But that data is outdated. One of the guys I talked to who created that original World Atlas of Night Sky Brightness told me that if he had the time and the money, he not only wanted to update that data and those maps, but to also create maps of what the world would look like if we controlled light pollution. I have a chapter called The Maps of Possibility. That is, could we create maps that would inspire us to say, this is what it could look like, right? It doesn't have to look like what it looks like now. We can do this. We can do this kind of thing. So, but I think at this point, what we have online, what you can find are the NASA photographs of the Earth at night, and then the World Atlas of Artificial Night Sky Brightness that I showed some of here. And again, the data on that is 20 years old almost. Yeah.
I find myself thinking back on when Boulder initiated or embraced the last light ordinance and speaking to City Council about being up on the Mesa Trail, far, far away from the city and seeing shadows, literally on the trail, seeing shadows from the city lights, on the trail. And being terribly disappointed that they didn't do away with the I forget the name of the lights that they put on the side, the wall pack.
Right.
Wall pack light. So I'm thinking that institutional change takes a very, very long time, right? We talked about light pollution 10 years ago. We don't want to talk about it in this generation, And then whatever equipment is required, whatever infrastructure changes are required as a result of a next generation of ordinance, that again takes time. So I guess I'm just editorializing on how difficult it is to affect real and meaningful change, and being reminded of maps that show us how terribly wasteful we are, and the connection to our energy consumption and climate change.
Absolutely.
That, there should be added impetus to save some energy and turn down the lights at the same time.
No doubt about it. And you've said a lot there. Most of the places, I don't know if this is true with Boulder, but most of the places you go where they are controlling their lighting, it's for energy. They're trying to save money. It doesn't have that much to do with wanting to see the stars or to have a real experience of darkness or nighttime. But that's in a way okay if that's the way we kind of address this, get in the door. But you're right. You can have lots of good lights like Boulder does, but you have those wall packs, those lights that are so bright that are shining in a horizontal way. They don't stop at the property where they're meant to illuminate. They go on and on and on. You see the shadows up in the mountains. I mean, how does that do anybody any good to have light up that far away? So I will say this in terms of being optimistic, though. A number of the folks that I talked to said, 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, when they would give talks about light pollution, people had never heard that phrase. They had never heard the word light and pollution together. And so they feel optimistic that at least that phrase is becoming more a part of our daily understanding of what's going on. I still talk to a lot of folks. Yesterday in Denver, I talked to a number of folks who had never given it any thought. Most of us are growing up just subsumed by this light. We don't recognize it as anything other than normal. But in terms of being optimistic, a couple things we can do is lighting ordinances, like you mentioned. So another thing is to have good lighting. It's just part of the building codes. So when you build something new, you just put in good lights. Lowe's, the home improvement store now, has a line of lights they call Good Neighbor lighting, which is fully shielded lights. Before they had that line, if you went to Lowe's or you went to Home Depot, whether you knew anything about light pollution or not, you had no lights to choose from that weren't contributing to light pollution. I mean, all of them did, basically. And now at least you can choose to buy that. So another guy I talked to was really excited about the energy crisis in a way. He's, electricity is so cheap now that we don't care if we're wasting light, but when that changes, we will care. So there are reasons to feel optimistic about it, but it can be frustratingly slow to turn this ship around.
What's the best city around that has the best lighting ordinances?
Well, a couple I would name right off the bat are in Arizona, Flagstaff and Tucson. And those, for a long time, those two cities have had strong lighting ordinances. They're not perfect. They have their problems too. But if you go to those two cities, you notice a different nighttime. The interesting thing, those ordinances are primarily, they at least originated for the benefit of the observatories there. And a friend of mine in Flagstaff who works at the U.S. Naval Observatory said he loves living in Flagstaff. He really appreciates that it's a dark sky city and that the citizens of Flagstaff appreciate the darkness. But he's always a little disappointed when he talks to folks and they say, yeah, we love it. We know we need it to be dark for the observatory. And he says, we don't make that same mistake or when we talk about the Grand Canyon, for example. It's like saying we protect the Grand Canyon for geologists. Right? No, we protect the Grand Canyon for all of us. And his point is that we're protecting darkness and the night sky and the night for all of us as well, but we're just not thinking about it. We're just not aware of how important darkness is for so many reasons.
To answer your question about the places that are best for darkness, Carmel, California strikes me as also being that way. My grandparents built a home right near the ocean in Carmel.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 74 now, and I've been going to Carmel since I was 8. And there are still the city fathers and mothers have seen to it that even though new houses are being built, houses have to have certain kinds of lighting. And it's a city full of trees, so they're conserving the trees and they're conserving the darkness. And that's part of its charm. So there's one city that has not succumbed to the modernization of lighting.
One of the interesting things that you're talking about there too, Carmel, it's a wealthy place as far as I know. I mean, there's a lot of money there. Likewise, Vail, Aspen, Paradise Valley, and Phoenix. These are places that are it's expensive to live there. People have money, and they're also places that have chosen to be dark. And again, this argument that, we need all this light for safety and security, you would think that the people who have more, who have fancy houses and have all this stuff, they'd want that all lit up, right, for protection. In fact, they've chosen to go dark. They've made that choice. It's impressive to be in some of those places. Actually, there's, I don't know if any folks here tonight live in this area, and I can't tell you exactly where I was last night. But it's in Boulder, where it's a neighborhood that has no streetlights. And I'm telling you, I almost never have that experience when I'm going around, And it's the woman I was with, we were doing an interview, and she said, we have a very low level of crime in this neighborhood. It has nothing to do with, darkness doesn't create crime. Crime has many sources, and light does not create safety. We have many, if you're a safe area, it's lighting can be part of that, but light doesn't automatically equal safety and security.
Have there been medical studies? They do so many different, studies of different things, but that as humans, we need to have a dark time in our life. I know we can turn on the lights inside our house and so forth, but as just a regular animal, so to speak, do we need the light and then the rest of the dark?
all life on Earth evolved with bright days and dark nights, including human beings, and we need it for optimal health. And so what the studies are finding is that the light at night that we're using is disrupting our sleep, and sleep disorders are linked to every major disease that we're dealing with in society. Lights are confusing our circadian rhythms, those internal biological rhythms that keep us healthy, keep us alive, keep our organs functioning. And it's also impeding the production of the hormone melatonin in our bodies. And this has been linked to the development of cancer, especially breast cancer and prostate cancer. So these studies are just beginning to come out, just beginning to emerge. And, researchers can't say, well, light at night gives you cancer. We can't say that. But they say, why take the chance? We're seeing a lot of information that's saying light at night is dangerous for us. And to me, it just makes sense. Again, we evolved with darkness. We need darkness. So sleep in the dark, right? Cover your windows. One of the things that's happening in modern society a lot is that we're staring into screens a lot. We're looking at iPhones, we're looking at iPads, we're looking at computers, televisions. That is light. It's also the worst kind of light, which is to say it's a blue light. And if you can imagine, evolutionary-wise, what does blue light mean to humans, to life, right? Daytime. It means blue sky, right? I'm kind of simplifying this research, but so essentially when we're looking at those screens, our body is getting the message, daylight, 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 wake up! And then we turn off our computer and shut our eyes and try to go to bed. So yeah, it's a powerful field of research. The human health effects of light at night on human health is pretty dramatic.
Could you speak a little bit to that cultural piece? Because one time I had a student who was from Bangkok, and I was asking what they miss most about their country, and she said fluorescent lighting because of the night markets.
Sure.
And
Yep.
there was like a feeling of warmth
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
And in your travels, do you associate any of the feelings and thoughts about light and darkness to culture?
Well, I think it's a really rich subject, and I talk about culture, especially in terms of in our country with Native American ideas about light and darkness, and how the difference for the folks that I talked about how rarely in Native traditions is something only light or only dark. There's always a mix of those things, whereas in Western traditions we tend to think light is good, darkness bad, and there's this big line between them kind of thing. I mentioned Paris. Paris, there the aesthetic light is beautiful, and they work so hard to create atmosphere. Everywhere I've gone, I've seen the color of light is something that people seem to respond to across culture, which is this orange, yellow, the color of fire, right? Of candlelight, of campfire, of fireplace. That's something that we migrate toward and love, and that we're usually like this to bright lights. But I mean, lights are so evocative in so many ways too, so I'm not surprised to hear your story. One story I just recently heard, and then we'll wrap it up here. A woman was telling me a story about having an exchange student from Hong Kong who had grown up in Hong Kong, and she was in the States, and they were home for Thanksgiving, and this student, 19-year-old human being, walked out into the backyard and just stayed in the backyard for several hours because she had never seen the stars. She was just amazed. She'd grown up amid lighting, and Hong Kong is one of those extraordinarily bright cities in the world. So we forget what a privilege, what a right, what a joy it is to see a real night sky. I guess I'm trying to help us remember what that's like. So thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
Alright, I want to thank Paul for coming out tonight. And I want to thank you all for coming as well. It's with your support and purchases that we've been able to be your local independent bookstore for 40 years. So I just want to let everybody know that the vouchers that you purchased are good for $5 off anything in the store tonight, or $5 off the end of night, the book, for as long as we sell it in our store, which will hopefully be a long time. And then also, if you're a Readers Guild member, then we can reserve seats for you for events like this in the future. Just pre-purchase your tickets and let us know that you want some seats reserved. With that, Paul will be signing books, so if you just want to line around back here by science fiction and mystery. And thanks all for coming out tonight.
Thank you.